David, just watching the cars coming around, we've seen in the pits that some of the crews are standing with fuel nozzles, so I think you're probably spot on. We're going to see some cars coming in now and try and refuel right to the end of the race.
I think that could be a very good move by the team managers. They've obviously read the rule book, they know exactly what's going on, and if you can have a strategy that's slightly better than somebody else's, that can make a big difference, as well as having a driver who's exceedingly quick. And if they're going to bring the car in at the end of this lap, and maybe if the pace car comes in also and lets the rest of the cars go, then by the time you get your driver changed and back out there's the pace car. The lights are out. The lights are out now, and I'm not sure why the Zent car is flashing his lights at the pace car. Maybe he's wanting to come into the pit, so he's trying to get the pace car to get a move on when he gets into the pits. He doesn't want this little Honda pace car coming in and going slowly 60 kilometers an hour down the pit lane, or less than 60, because the race car will want to be doing 60 kilometers an hour when it comes into the pit lane. So here we are now coming up to the last chicane, and the car's quite close behind the safety car. Maybe they've slowed down a little bit to try and let the safety car get away a little bit. There's the safety car pulling off and into the pits, and the race will start on a 1-by-1 basis. Yes, they come. They're not 2-by-2 as per normal because of the weather conditions. The race has similarly started, and a spinner straight away.
Yes, that was the Raybrigg
NSX.
car. The Raybrigg NSX, that was a spinner there. We got 2-3 cars into the pit lane already, just as you forecast, David, but not a good start for that Raybrigg car. That was...
No, I think it was the green one, the Takata Dome NSX.
Was it? It was the other one then, right, okay.
With Mishigami, who was driving that, and before he even gets to the start line, he spun it, and you see the cars coming in.
Both Nissans, both the Nismo cars are in them. They're changing drivers and taking fuel on, getting ready for a dash right to the finish.
I think that's a big thing for the Nissans. They were down in 9th and 10th place, so that's a big change for them. And Richard Lyons is getting into one of them, and Michael Kroom's getting into the number 22 car. So that's obviously their quickest drivers for the wet weather. Obviously the Europeans very used to the wet weather conditions. There we are, getting everybody out of the way. It's a simple, straightforward driver change. We didn't see any fuel going in at all. I reckon they've got enough fuel on these cars to do the whole 39 laps without putting any extra in. So a lot of these pit stops will be drivers only. But you can see the cars coming down here in the rain. Now we can't see with the lights ahead of us who they are, but that's one of the GT300 cars, the number 30 car, into the pits already.
Another spinner, David.
Another spinner there.
Yeah, that's down at turn 1, first turn. He's had a big spin there, but he gets going again. That's one of the VMAC cars we were talking about. In comes the number 30 Reckless car then. This is the pole position car in GT300, Sasaki and Yamano. They're making an early stop as well. That could well play into the hands of Toyota. So we're looking at the race finally getting underway then, and the Zent Supra car starting from pole, and that's leading the SO car, the Tom Supra, those 3 Toyotas breaking away. But we're going to have to take a quick break, so come back in a moment. We'll see how this is going to pan out. We still have more than 30 laps of racing left. Welcome back to Suzuka, Japanese Super GT here on Motors TV. The final round. It's been a heavy season. This is the 8th race, and this is probably going to be one of the wettest. In comes Ralph Furman then, and the rest of the group coming into the pits. No, that's not Ralph, that's the race leader. Sorry, the Zent Supra coming in. Ralph Furman just going by, and he presumably will be moving into second place for the moment. Right in next door to him, the SO car, and so our pole man just getting fueled there, David, as well as changing drivers.
That's right. I hadn't realised when we watched the Nissans come in that they put fuel in, but certainly the Toyotas are putting fuel in, both the SO Ultraflow and the Zent car, and it's very little fuel, obviously, because of the shortened race distance, but it's how quickly can you get your drivers in and out. Oh, look at that. And there is a change. Is it a change? There's a drag race down the pit lane to see who can get out first. They're almost side by side, not quite. So that's a change for the who was at the front. What was the lead, basically, because everyone's coming in at different times now. We've got no idea exactly who's hasn't come in and who has. Then that's a quick change. The SO Ultraflow car is now in front of the Zent Supra.
Yeah, absolutely dreadful conditions here. The rain not easing at all, getting worse if anything. And look at these conditions. If these guys didn't have those headlights on, nobody would be able to see them on the circuit. Down then at the Spoon corner. There is our race leader at the moment. That's 37 Tom's Toyota. That's Yamamoto on board. Takatoe with Yamamoto. That's the car that had the differential problems on the other morning, on Saturday morning, causing all sorts of problems. Well up the order now because everyone else behind has stopped. And these conditions are just so bad. There is Ralph Furman now at the wheel of that car. That's the Arta NSX. And Ralph, everything to play for this weekend. This is his big chance to become champion.
Yeah, he's still in the car at the moment. He hasn't been into the pit, so we're not sure whether he will come in because Ito set the quickest lap time. He did the Super Pole qualifying for that car. He did the qualifying for it to get it up there. So whether he will come in quickly or whether they will share the length of the race, I'm not sure. But you can see some of the cars I was watching earlier on when they were going down to the hairpin curve. They were not going to the inside of the circuit, not taking the perfect racing line. They were staying out a little bit from the racing line to try and get a little bit more grip. You can see the pictures there we've seen from the back of that NSX who's going along, or even this Zent car now. You can see just how much water is coming off that car. It's coming off the side, it's coming off the back. It really is spraying an awful lot of water around. Now what I'm not sure is why this is the number 37 Zent car that's up here now.
Yeah, he's not stopped, David. That's why Kataoka at the wheel at the moment, and he is leading Ralph Furman, and then in the Epson car, the 32 car, which started in 5th place, Andre Lotterer. Interesting thing is Furman has gone past Lotterer in those opening few laps after the 4 laps behind the safety car, so Ralph is really on a charge. I know he's moved up to 2nd from 6th because others have stopped, but he has gone past Lotterer, and that's already something for him. A big battle behind them. Look at this whole group of cars, and visibility virtually nil in that, I should think.
Yes, we can see the visibility that we've got with the camera looking down. All you can see is the bright lights showing you, how bright those lights are. But the lights are not going to be able to cut through the mist of the rain. When these cars get onto the straight, you can see there is what we would call a rooster tail coming out of the back of the car. It's the water that's being dragged out from underneath the car and sprayed up in a big tail out of the back of the car, and that obviously is getting into everybody else's way when they're trying to catch and pass. But you can see here the difference when somebody's in front, how much more they can see. And the SO Ultraflow car managed to put a couple of back markers between himself and the Zent car when they were nose to tail just less than a quarter of a lap ago. And it's just that much more difficult to overtake, really, with these bad conditions.
Into the Degner curve then, very tight right-hander, goes under the bridge, under the crossover, and flashing his lights. The Zent car coming through. He is way down the order at the moment, of course, because those 6 cars you're looking at on the graphic at the moment have not made any stops yet, except, having said that, the GZOC Z car, he did stop on the first lap. So Nissan have gained a huge advantage, David, by doing that at the moment the safety car came in. That really has worked in their favour.
It has, and I'm not sure. There's the 13th and 14th place of the 2 Nissans that we've seen, the 2 Works Nissans that came in early on. But I think strategy by the various team managers or the engineers, if they're sitting beside their computers, will play quite a big part in this race.
Yeah, this is the beauty, of course, of endurance racing, long-distance racing. It's all about strategy and trying to outwit your rivals, selling them dummies. Now look at these conditions. This is not just our camera. This is exactly what the conditions are like. There is just a complete and total fog down that end of the circuit. There's so much spray coming up. There's our leader, the 37 Zent Supra still with the Arta. Oh, he's all over the curbs. Nearly lost control there. That was Tachikawa. Tachikawa now having taken over from Toru Takagi, who started that. No, he hasn't. Toru Takagi is on board that car, so at the moment, will he be handing over to Tachikawa, because Takagi, I think, normally has been seen as the faster of those drivers. But down they come. There then goes the Esso car, and still just ahead of the Zent. Well, we've got a problem there. Spinners and that Zent car all over the curbs. That's the Esso car, so the car that beat it out of the pits, then spinning here at the Casio Triangle chicane. The So total confusion at the moment, David, because a lot of the cars, half the field at the moment stopped. Here's more of the field stopping. This is Little Arta Guraya that has had those wins this year in GT300. He's just coming out of the pits with the other Takagi, no relation of Tora. And Seiji Takagi then comes out, having taken the car over from Morinita. That's been a very impressive run by this car this year, but are these conditions going to be too much for it?
I'm not sure. I think it'd be very difficult for Little Car to try and win the championship, but they're out there. They've decided to have a go at trying a different strategy as well. But I'm just looking further down the list, and we can see some of the cars that have done really well. In 5th place is the number 36, the open interface Tom Supra. Now that started down in 13th. Now we know a couple of the lead cars have been in, but nevertheless that's really an impressive jump from 13th up to 5th. And just behind that in 6th place is the number 12 Calsonic Impulse Z, the Nissan 350Z. Now that started 17th and last in the 500 class, and it's now up to 6th, 7th place. And that is the number 12 car. That's really fantastic drive by them to get that up there, that number 12 car.
Yeah, those top 6 cars, of course, none of those have yet stopped, so that's really going to pan out on team strategy, how they're going to make the most of these conditions. There we are, the Denso, Takata and Bandai cars. They've not yet stopped. And look, we've got 300 cars already well up into the running. And that Nomad Maranello, by the way, that's the 550 GTS, which is running in GT500. Kurosawa and Mitsuwada on board that car. And then the Zent Supra, which has stopped, the Esso Supra, which has stopped. We just saw spinning at the Casio Triangle. So I think that 11th place, David, is probably our virtual leaders when the rest of them have stopped.
Yes, I think when they've all had their changes, then that's what will happen. But it looks like the ones that were going to stop early have stopped, and those that are not going to stop early will go till half distance, and half distance being around about 20 laps before they come in. So quite some time yet before they come in, the rest of them, for their changes, and only when that 20 lap mark, or maybe these guys have decided they're going to drive for 35 out of the 39 laps and let their teammates only drive for the last 5 laps. So depending upon the strategy by the engineers and the managers, we may see that some of these drivers will stay out for 35 laps out of the 39. So we're just going to have to sit and wait and see what the strategy is from the various different teams.
Yeah, Ralph's car, of course, run by Aguri Suzuki. He's got his mind on other things, as we said at the moment, that Formula One program. But he's not the man calling the shots, of course. Takuya Nakamura, he's the team manager. He's very, very experienced, been running in Formula Nippon and Super GTs, Japanese GT for many, many years. He's a man who can really read the conditions. Well, there we are. That is the positions at the moment. If the race was red flag now, it would obviously give Furman and Ito the championship, but obviously the race isn't going to be red flag now. But what Ralph could do with, of course, he hasn't made a stop yet, they could do with another safety car period, and they could get into the pits and out again without too much loss of place.
I guess all these things are possibilities, and you have to think about all the different possibilities when the weather conditions are like this, because a lot of people do fall off, do spin. We've seen a number of spinners already, including the S Ultra Flow car, which was very, very quick out there. It was lying second to start with, and then when it came into the pits, managed to get out in front of the guy that was first, the Zent Supra. So even them, who are really, really quick, have had an off. So Ralph Furman will be very mindful of that and trying to make sure he stays on the circuit, because at the moment he's got a possibility of a very good championship win, and he's come into this race with a 7-point lead over the second and third guys. So he knows that he really needs to keep the car going, keep it on the circuit, and score some good points. A win would be absolutely fantastic for Honda at Honda's home circuit. Remembering they didn't really qualify very well. They qualified in 4th, 5th and 6th place, the NSXs. But the Toyota's taken the strategy to a different level. They've decided to come in early, the two of the cars, and do it very much different to the way of Honda have done it. But unfortunately, we're not going to know until the end of this race which of the managers and which of the engineers were correct in their strategies.
Yeah, and of course the other point with Ralph Furman, this is almost his home circuit. He's done so much of his racing here, as you saw from that graphic just a minute ago. And Ralph, very, very popular with all the Japanese here. He's always made a point of learning Japanese. We've got an off already. Which car's this? It's one of the GT300s. He's gone off on that back straight. You come up from the spoon curve, very fast part of the circuit before you get up to the 130R, and that's one of the Porsches, isn't it? Who's it? Guts GNI. It's beautifully called. Only a Japanese driver could be called Guts.
Yeah, he's obviously come out of that left-hander, got it up onto the curb, lost it. He's hit the tyres on the inside. Now that's a possibility of pace car you were just talking about for Ralph Thurman. It would help him if he wanted to come in to do a driver change. I'm not sure whether they want to do a driver change at the moment, but the car's obviously got some power and should be moving very soon.
We're still following that GT300 battle, the Ebro MTech NSX car. That's the car that's run by what previously was Mugen. Mugen changing its name to MTEX after a few little problems with the Japanese tax authorities some year ago. That car is run by Junichi Kamakura. He's the team director of Ebro. That's a car that's really been developed so well for GT300, but so too has the Artigurai, which is running right behind it. And look at that, the crowd still sticking it out. It hasn't stopped raining since they got here this morning. We're told there's 80,000 people here for this race, not quite as many as the Grand Prix, which goes up into the 140,000 mark. But again, just a mark of how popular this championship is in Japan. And I have to say, David, on motors, it's been one of our most popular championships.
Yes, it's really impressive. It's impressive because he's got impressive cars, he's got some good speed, he's got some fantastic drivers. Certainly the GT300 class, all the drivers are of Japanese descent, but in the GT500 class, the class we're looking at now, here's James Courtney, he's from Australia, and there's 15 different nationalities in the GT500 class. Very much an international championship, trying to get it to go to some other countries as well, but unfortunately that bit, as we said earlier, is not working for them. But what you can't take away from them is they've got really nice cars, they've got a lot of good technology in them, and they're very, very quick indeed. It doesn't matter what the weather conditions are, they will race these cars come wet or dry.
Oh, incidentally, what you have not yet heard officially, and we're hearing it because we were in the know at Hockenheim last week for the DTM, we understand that the DTM will come to Brands Hatch next year. It's not yet been confirmed, but our information is a pretty good source, so look for the DTM at Brands Hatch in 2006. That will be really worth seeing. But meanwhile, this is Super GT in Japan, the Japanese equivalent of the DTM, except it's for GT cars rather than for Super Touring cars. And here at the moment is our race leader, still James Courtney, still leading Benoit Trullier, both of whom have to make their mandatory stop yet, hand over their cars. Courtney will be handing over to Takeshi Tsuchiya, and Trullier will be handing over to Yuji Ida, the man who's still very, very sore from his crash on Friday morning. He was briefly knocked out, had to go to the medical centre. Well, we have got pit action, David. They're getting ready.
And that's for the second car, this car, the number 12 Calsonic Nissan, who started right at the back of the grid, having had an accident in practice, and they're waiting for him. They've got tyres sitting there as well. We're not sure whether we'll actually change the tyres or whether they'll just look at the tyres that's on there and decide whether to change them or leave them. But that car in second place, and there we see it there, running in 2:50, 2:12 was his quickest lap, 2:14, 2:15. So it's getting a second a lap slower all the time. Maybe his tyres are wearing down a little bit. They've decided that they'll do a tyre change as well because the lap times are getting slightly slower. It could be he's just simply passing a few more cars. And that looked very like the Subaru that I said had an accident earlier, back on the circuit and running again. There's a quick flash as it went across the screen, but here we can see the cars coming towards us with the headlights on. With the headlights on, difficult to see. That's the lead car, the number 36 car with James Courtney on board. They're one of the open interface cars, which has now got Zent written on it as well, which is confusing us with the Zent car that was in very early on and had their pit stop, the number 38 ar.
Yeah, Zent is the radiator division of Toyota, the same as Calsonic is the radiator division of Nissan, so they tend to put more advertising on the cars than is necessarily the team's names. So that's why you see Zent there. Incidentally, we're just talking about that Subaru, David. We've got a list of official retirements. The Raybrigg NSX car of Sebastian Philippe Jeremy Dufour, winner this year, that went out with electrical problems, water in the electrics quite early on, 34 laps. The Arctec Porsche 968 went out with Guts Giano. We saw that car crashed heavily earlier on. and one of the two Lamborghinis racing, that's been retired. That's been crashed quite heavily. Is this a stop-go penalty? Number 8, they're getting a signal there.
I'm not sure what that's for. That's the Arta NSX. That's the car that Ralph Furman was in earlier, but it says D8. I'm not sure what the D8 stands for. It may mean a penalty of some sort, like a drive-through penalty. We're not sure, but certainly that's going to hurt it. It did come in very late for its pit stop, which didn't help it at all. And now if they have some more problems, indeed, that won't be very good for Honda at all. Remember, we said early on this was their race circuit, and there he is into the pit lane. I
think you're right, David. D must be drive-through. He's coming in at some speed. He's going to have to break his speed now down to the mandatory 80 kilometers an hour here at Suzuka. He's going right down the pit lane. Is he going to stop?
It does say on the screen a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, right, okay, so, well spotted. Well,
maybe speeding in the pit lane the first time when they did a driver change, I'm not sure. Maybe they've done something wrong on the circuit, overtake under a yellow flag, maybe overtaken one of the slower GT300 cars, but that's only lost them another 30-odd seconds.
That's a cruel blow, David. That is a cruel blow.
That will take them back quite a bit in the grid.
Just hearing it was for contact with another car. We didn't see it, but obviously it was what the Americans like to call rough driving, maybe push someone a bit wide, and they take quite a dim view of that. It's not a contact sport, Japanese Super GT, despite the appearance sometimes of what goes on. So a big blow there for Ralph Furman. Ralph-san may not be bringing home the sushi as he'd hoped, and I think at the moment it's looking better and better for Toru Takagi and Yuichi Tachikawa. The car you're looking at the moment, that is the Arta NSX of Daisuke Ito. He has just taken a drive-through penalty. This car we're looking at is the sister team car. That's the Arta Guraya. The two cars now running together, one GT300, other GT500. David, what's quite obvious now is that neither of these cars are going to win their respective championships.
It doesn't look that way, and I'm not sure just how much time the number 8 NSX has lost by that drive-through penalty, but we know they weren't right up there because they were very late in taking their pit stops to start with, and then on top of that having a drive-through penalty which will lose them a good 30-odd seconds for his rough driving, as you called it. He obviously edged somebody out somewhere along the circuit, probably one of the smaller cars, but that certainly has hit them quite hard. So they're going to now rely on what happens with the other people, where they all finish, who scores how many points. They've got to just keep on going to try and score as many points as they can. Remember, they came into this race with a 7-point lead, so there's always an opportunity for them to continue to win this championship.
Well, James Courtney has yet to stop. That looked like his team there. Takeshi Shituya will be taking that car out. I don't know where they're going to return when he comes in, but that was definitely the Tom's Toyota crew there. We saw the back of them just waiting for their car to come in, so the race lead about to change again. It's been a long time in the hands of James Courtney. Benoit Trullier, who was really pushing him in the wet, has made his stop, and he's dropped way down the order now. In fact, we've got Trullier down in the Calsonic car in, I think, 9th position at the moment. In he comes. That is the little Guraya. This is the car that was in the top 3 of GT300. Comes to take his pit stop, and handing that car over will be...
And off come the wets. On goes some more wets. He's running on Michelin tyres. You see the Michelin written on there. They've decided fronts only. Had enough. Yeah, thank you very much. Off we go. Now, that looked very quick as a tyre change.
No driver change.
No driver change.
They did stop earlier, David, because... in fact, Nita handed over to Takagi earlier on, so that's a second stop for that car. So both the Arta cars are having their championship chances compromised. Maybe he had a slow puncture, who knows?
I'm not sure why, because the tyre that came off looked perfectly okay, and they put on some new tyres, and they put tyres on the front only.
Well, here at the moment then, the little Reckless car, this is the number 30 car. This car's really been doing the business all afternoon.
Yes, they started away down in 14th place. They had quite a bad qualifying situation, but they've been able to pick that back up during the race. And you can see the exhaust there at the back, very hot indeed. You can see it spitting back, coming out. The wiper blade obviously still working, with working very quickly going across the back of there. But now You can see just how much drier it is on the circuit. It's not dry as such, but in 4th place they're up to now. I can see the position there, and they're certainly reveling in these conditions, and they've moved that car up very nicely.
And David, again, looking at their standings, this car had a win already at the last race at Autopolis. This is Kota Sasaki, Tetsuya Yamano. They are again in a real position now to win the championship. This little reckless team, as you say, in 4th place at the moment in class. I think the Dream Cube's Ad Van Zed is just behind them, Kazuki Hoshino. The reckless arm MRS also on line for perhaps the title this afternoon. Not that many laps to go, but this car has yet to make its one and only pit stop. James Courtney's been on board since the start. He's been through 2 safety car periods, 9 laps to go. He's going to have to stop, David, in the next 4 laps.
He is. We know from the rules and regulations that 5 laps is the minimum any one driver can do, and right at the very beginning some of the drivers decided to come in after 5 laps, and this team has decided they're going to come in with only 5 laps to go. So very different strategy indeed, but we'll see just how that works out for them at the end of the day. But there we see in the top 6 the other guys who are out there, and certainly in 3rd place now is the number 38 car, who came in very early on indeed. That was the Zent Supra to change over. In fact, it was that early, it was just as the pace car came in, they followed it in basically, and did a driver change straight away. This is a car that was lying in 2nd place. It's now come in for its pit stop. There it is, into the pit box. Now we can see some tyres sitting there waiting to go on. There go the tyres onto the back. Now I'm trying to see just if there is a pattern there. It looks from this distance as though these are slick tyres. They've done the rear tyres, that's what they normally always do. They've done that. Once that's done, in goes the fuel. The fuel's gone in. The fuel's obviously on a timer. You can see the guy standing at the back with a stopwatch telling the fuel guy, enough, get off. And then as soon as he's off, on goes the tyres on the front. And I have to say, they looked like, from a distance, they looked like slick racing tyres. I'm not sure that this circuit is quite dry enough to be having slick racing tyres.
There are dry lines in places, aren't there? But it's quite a well-draining circuit, Suzuka, historically. But as you say, David, I mean, there's so much standing water in some of these corners now. I guess they're probably, maybe they've gone for intermediates just from our camera distance. We couldn't quite see. I think they realised they've got nothing to lose now, because they have dropped down the order, as we said. And here then still our race leader at the moment, but only for a couple more laps surely, because he's going to have to come in. He hasn't got that much of a lead that Courtney's co-driver can get out again before he's caught. Well, James Courtney, man of the moment, coming up the field, and here's the car that's in 2nd place now. He's moved up into 2nd. That's Yuji Tachikawa. And David, what's going on there?
That was him passing the GT300 leader, the Ferrari 360. So you had both the GT. Well, he's not actually leading yet, but we believe he will be leading the minute that James Courtney comes in. So that's the number 38 Zent that we feel, while he's in 2nd place at the moment, and the 1st place guy is still yet to pit. When he does pit, then that car will move up into 1st position, and having just overtaken the Ferrari 360, who's leading the GT300 class. That was what I see as the 2 leaders together. 7 laps to go, so only another couple of laps, and that lead car that's out there at the moment, the number 36 car of James Courtney, is going to have to come in and change over to his teammate. And
we've been doing our figures, and if this car wins, it will take the championship, even if Ralph Furman's car could claw its way up a little bit. But it had all these problems this afternoon. We saw that they had a problem with a tyre change. They then had a drive-through penalty, and that really has fatally compromised the hope of hanging on to the title, because that Arta NSX car at the moment is running, I think, almost down in 12th place. We'll see on the caption at the moment. That'd be my guess. Certainly not in the top 10 at the moment. Zent Tsurumo Supra then poised to take the lead of this race, and with it the championship, if he can stay there for these last half dozen laps. But he's really flinging that car around the circuit. Yuji Tachikawa done a good job taking that car over from Toru Takagi, and this is looking more and more likely that Toyota is going to salvage the championship from what looked almost certainly to be a Honda walkover at this 2nd half of the season.
Certainly the Hondas in the second half, once they changed their engines over to the normally aspirated engine from the turbocharged, have really moved forward in leaps and bounds. And coming into this race, you have to say that with a 7-point lead for Ralph Furman and his teammate on a circuit which belongs to Honda, they were expecting great things indeed. But a decision to change in the middle of the race, drivers rather at the very beginning, and then having a drive-through penalty as well, has taken them out of the top 10 at the moment. So I'm not sure where they're going to end up, and if they can pull any positions back in the last 6 laps.
Well, we're getting hearing a lot on our emails about the Supra owners, many of them out there, and if Fan Power alone could get them the win in the championship, then Supra Power would. The Nissan and Honda fan clubs very strangely quiet on our emails tonight. I don't know where you've all got to, but Supra looking good here on the track, looking good on the emails, and at the moment this car, as we say, our virtual leader and our virtual champion with 6 laps to go, because Courtney has got to make his pit stop now. I think if not at the end of this lap, certainly at the end of the next lap.
Yes, they've obviously decided where they're going to go, and they can see the driver sitting there waiting to get into the car. He knows he's got the very small part of the race to do. He's going to get into a car, and he's going to have to find it very difficult to see how much grip there is out there. He's not driven in the wet this weekend, and all of a sudden he's going to be thrown right in there at the end. But there we see, still in first place, the number 36 Thomas Toyota, the Zent car in second, and the Asa supercar that did so well at the very beginning now has dropped behind the number 1, the Works Nismo Z there. And the G-Zox car has been working its way back up, and then down to the Takata. That's the number 18 NSX. That's the green and white car that came up to 3rd place early on before it came in for his pit stop. So they've obviously had a very good pit stop, and they've actually come out of this quite well.
Now here's the defending champions, but only for a few more laps. It's Satoshi Motoyama, Richard Lyons, the man from Northern Ireland, and he's going to have to hand that crown over this afternoon, Richard, unless something very dramatic happens ahead of him. The Zensurumo Supra is ahead of him, and also so is the Esso Ultraflow Supercar, I think, of Wacky Cycle. We're just looking to see what happens with that. Or has he gone past there now? He's in 3rd at the moment, but of course that's because James Courtney has not yet stopped. So that's looking good. So Richard's job now is to try and catch Yuji Tachikawa in the Zensurumo Supra. Is he going to be able to do it? If he can do that, can he stop the runaway by Toyota of the championship? Remember, Richard is still in with the shout if he can pull that off. But I think maybe even if he wins this race this afternoon, he may still be 1 point short of snatching that title from Takagi and Tachikawa. Anyway, he's doing all he can. They're pushing hard. Only 1 win this year compared with the 3 last year. And that is Yuji Tachikawa waiting. No, not Yuji Tachikawa. That is Courtney's partner, Takeshi Tashuya, waiting to take over the car. Back with motors, back with Super GT from Suzuka in Japan. These are the closing laps of the season, just 5 to go. James Courtney then, our race leader, but he's going to have to make a pit stop at the end of this lap because his co-driver is going to run out of time. He has got to do a minimum of 5 laps in this car if they're going to be classified. The man he's going to be waiting to get in is Takeshi Shishuya. We've just seen him in the pit lane standing on toweling to keep his feet clean, so it's not slippery. Gets in, he's going to get in this car, and he's going to have to drive the 5 laps of his life.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do because when they come in, they're going to lose a bit of time. It will be a very quick pit stop, I'm sure. I'm not sure if it needs any fuel or not. If it does, it will be very little. But it's a case of how quick can he change the driver. And this is not good, the number 34 Bandai Supra in the gravel there. And while they weren't, they were around about in the top 10. That really is bad news towards the end. Oh, and another car. This is the one of the Tom's cars. So all of a sudden, these drivers are finding that as the circuit dries or isn't as wet, there's no longer the standing water there. They're starting to slip and slide around a lot. And that's what happens. The tires get a little bit warm, the track gets a bit drier, and all of a sudden the track actually becomes slippier before it becomes grippier. So you're actually slippier with a damp circuit than it is with a really fully wet circuit. And a couple of drivers, one's actually off, and one we've seen this one here right on the very edge.
Well, that is Courtney. That was our race leader, and he just got more and more wide. Is he coming into the pits
He
now?
should be coming in. There he is. He's in the pits.
Yep, in he comes. We know that Takeshi Tsuchiya is waiting in the pit lane to get in the car. Take us through it, David.
Yeah, he's already slackening the belts, I'm sure, inside that car. He's stopped. There you are, stopped. There we are. Where's he going? Doors open. Out he comes very quickly, out of the way. In goes another driver. In goes the mechanics, the engineers. One doing the lap belts, side belts, one doing the top belt. Get it fastened up. The driver really doesn't have to do anything at all. Just get himself into that car. And I'll sure that no tyres, not even thinking about putting tyres onto that car. They weren't even in the pit lane. A little drop of petrol to get it going for the last 5 laps and back out onto the circuit. So coming down the pit lane at their speed limit. As soon as he hits that white line, he'll light the car up and off onto the circuit. He's got a very difficult job now to, having not been in the wet, to suddenly be out there. And coming up behind him, you see another of the GT500 cars coming with the headlights flashing. That looks like the G-Zox car, the number 3 car there coming out. So they're right up there. G-Zox car has been so far throughout this race, and he's really switched on. He knows exactly where the damp bits on the circuit are. And there's the Bandai car. It's got itself out of the gravel trap, coming back slowly. But that G-Zox Nissan Z is right on the back of the number 36 Toyota, the Tom's Toyota. So that's going to be very difficult to keep that Nissan behind. Whether he can do that or not for the last few laps, I'm not sure. There's the headlights flashing already. He'll be trying to distract the driver. The driver's just got in. He's trying to find his way around. He doesn't really need somebody flashing headlights behind him. That will only make him make a mistake. And I'm sure that's the reason the headlights are being flashed, to try and make the driver in front make a mistake so you can get past. And this is the battle we are following at the moment. Oh, there he goes. Going to go right round the outside. Didn't quite make it out. Maybe cut back on the inside. Nope, not this time. But Nissan desperately wants past that Toyota.
Yeah, Nissan's got the heat in the tyres, of course. The Tom Supra hasn't. But I'm amazed that Tsuchiya was able to get back out in 5th place. He hadn't actually lost that much time in 4th place, where he's at the moment. The car chasing him, the G-Zox Sasami Z, Toshihiro Kaneshi on board, is in 5th place at the moment. He's looking for 4th, of course. Nissan then beginning to look better and better. Our race leader, as you'll have worked out from all this, is the Zensurumo Supra with Yuji Tachikawa on board. Now, he's known as a sprinter. That's his fame in Japan. He's a sprint man, and Tachikawa on board that car at the moment. The Tsurumo team is headed by Masayuki Sato. He supported Kazuyoshi Hoshino, the fastest man in Japan over the years. And interestingly, also Eddie Irvine. He's the man who gave Eddie his break in Formula One. Really introduced him to Eddie Jordan. Here is the pass coming. No, he can't quite make it. Look at this. Kaneshi in the car that Eric Comas handed over to him, really having a go in this Nissan. So great fight going on here in these closing stages.
I can see that again, the lights flashing away a good style, but he's a little bit too far behind, I think, to try and break him. Outbreak at the end of the straight there, but he really is switched on, and he's feeling that having caught this car, having just come out of the pits, he really wants past it. So there we are. You see that in 4th and 5th place, and up front 1, 2 and 3 are cars that were in at the very beginning of this race. The Zendt Supra, the number 1 Nissan, and the number 6 Esso Ultraflow Supra in 3rd place. So that was obviously a very good strategy to come in early on, and the strategy to come in late on hasn't worked. And here's the possible championship positions as it stands at the moment. Unfortunately, Ralph Furman not in the points at all. We did say early on he needs to score good points, but that changing in the middle of the race, plus a drive-through penalty, has dropped him right down the results sheet. We're not sure exactly whereabouts he is lying at the moment in the actual race, but certainly not scoring points. And he's come into this race with a 7-point lead, and it looks as though he's going to lose the championship by 6 points simply by not being able to score enough points in this race.
The Yuji Tachikawa, quick biography of him. What that graphic on the points didn't take into account, of course, is that the 1 point is awarded for fastest lap in the race. We won't know that until the end of the race, and as David said, it is drying out a little bit now, so times may be coming down a little bit at this stage of the race. But interesting, we're just doing the figures again, and if Richard Lyons was able to, Richard Lyons and hit his car, which is Satoshi Motoyama, if they were able to overhaul this race leader, they would be champions again. 67 points to 62. At the moment it's looking like 62-54 the other way round, and it's not going to be James, I'm afraid, Richard Lyons who's going to be looking so good, but that's what the situation is at the moment, and what's going to happen at the end of the race, nobody knows yet. Still 2 more laps to go.
And we can see there on the screen the difference in those 4 laps. He's taken something like 4 seconds out of the leader with this car, the Works Nismo car, number 1 car with Richard Lyons on board. He really is taking time out of the leader, and he's down to he's gone down from a 2:15 down to a 2:13 in the last 4 laps, 5 laps as well. So really pushing hard. He knows that if he can get to the front of this race, I'm sure his engineers will have worked it out as we have. If he can beat the current leader of this race, he will keep his championship crown. Now, we didn't think of that when we came into this race. We thought it was a bit of an outside chance, to be perfectly honest. But as I said earlier on at the very beginning, you must never give up. You've got to keep on going all the time. He is pushing very hard, and he's taking time out of the leader all the time. So can he get to the end? Can he get to that leader? There he is, just in front. There's only a little GT300 car between them.
So the Merc coming back, the rain I think just sweeping a little bit there. Big action here then, the chase is on, not only for the race here at Suzuka but also for the championship crown, because if Richard Lyons, Satoshi Motoyama can get that Nissan up ahead of the Zensurumo Supra, they would keep their crown for 2006. What we do know, Ralph Furman's car, the Arta NSX, is out of the points. He's running in 12th at the moment. Points only go up to 10th. They haven't had fastest lap. They didn't get points for qualifying. They're not going to score anything this weekend. And it looks at the moment as if they are not only going to lose the title, they could also lose second place to Motoyama and Lyons. So this is really everything to go for. If Satoshi Motoyama at the wheel at the moment can get this car ahead of Tachikawa, he will be champion again. This is looking very, very tight. Looking good for Toyota, it's looking good for Nissan, but Honda, everything seems to have gone pear-shaped.
It has, and we said at the very beginning of this race that we thought that Honda would do very well here. Now, we've been proved exceedingly wrong, but last lap now, the very last lap, you can see this is the gap between first and second, and if this changes around, if second can get into first, if Richard Lyons can manage to pass that car on the last lap, he will become the champion again this year. So can he do it? There's only 4 and a bit kilometers left to go of this race, and that's how close. After 39 laps of this race, that's going to be something like an hour and 3/4 of racing. It's this close. It's down to about a second gap difference at the moment, and back markers could come into play here between the 2 cars. If one guy gets past, one guy doesn't, then there's a big gap there, but it looks more and more likely this Nissan really is closing down on the Zen Supra, the lead car, and the end of this race is going to look very, very close indeed, and everyone's waiting to see if they can change around. If it will be the Zen car in front, then he will win the championship. If it's the Nissan 350Z that's in second place, can get through to the front, then he will win the championship. That's how close it is in the Japanese Super GT.
Richard Lyons on board the car at the moment. He's got so much to do in this last half a lap. They're coming round the spoon curve now. Richard knows that that gap between him and the car in front represents the championship. Can he do anything about it? Richard's going to be pushing as hard as he can, but have they just left it too late? He's really running out of time now. They've only got a few hundred meters to go into the 130R, one of the most fearsome corners in modern day motorsport. And he's got a back marker between them. That slowed him down. Look, he's way off the track. Well, he's over the grass. He's everywhere. Richard's making a last-ditch effort into the chicane, but it's all too late, I'm sure. And if Yuji Tachikawa, as he takes the flag, is going to be the champion along with Toru Takagi for 2005. He's only got to run down the hill now. Richard can't quite do it.
And what a close finish. Whichever of these 2 cars that finished first would have won the championship. So the championship goes right down and finishes only 1 second apart between the 2 guys who could have won the championship all year long, and it finishes only 1 second apart. That is a very close, very good championship indeed. There he is. He knows he's number 1. He's got his hand out. He's waving it around at the crowd. He's waving at the marshals. He knows He is the champion for 2006.
Yuji Tachikawa then, he was also champion in 2001 and with this same Tsurumo team, so a big double victory for him. What a great afternoon for Yuji Tachikawa. Man is born in 1975 in Kanagawa, and he at the moment will be the hero of Japan along with his teammate Toru Takagi. Now Toru, most of us know from Formula One. He raced for Tyrrell, he raced for Arrows, he raced in Champ Car for Walker Racing, in the IRL for Mo Nunn. Also, of course, he won the Formula Nippon title in 2000, so it's another big Japanese result for him. Here comes GT300. This is a little reckless Toyota MRS of Sasaki Yamano. They cross the line and they become champions by taking third place. They've come up to behind the Jim Gaynor Ferrari and the Ebro MTEC and SX.
I think it's really good that the Ferraris finally managed to get a win at the end of this season. So superb job for the Jim Gaynor Ferrari. But the championship, as you said, down to the number 30 car, the little reckless MRS. And they've had some good results towards the end of the season, and that really has helped them. But here's the winner, the Jim Gaynor Ferrari with Dunlop tyres, the GT300 winner, and they've been trying all year long to get this car towards the front. Towards the end of the season, he's been getting closer and closer, but to have a win at the last round, round 8 here at Suzuka, very, very good indeed for the Jim Gaynor Ferrari. But the championship goes to this car, the little reckless MRS number 30.
Yeah, and just remember, the last race of the season tends to be the one that people remember. Now, that's the drivers tied up, but what about the teams? Well, Team Reckless take the GT300 ranking as well. And interestingly, despite the fact that Toyota have won the driver's crown, Nismo, the Nissan official arm, they have won the GT500 ranking. 86 points ahead of the 82 of Honda, and Toyota team's Tom finishing a distant third on 73 points. And despite that, all that hard work. But the interesting thing is that Takagi and Tachikawa are new champions. They have won 3 races this year, the most winning crew of the season. In this car, that's been a great job for them in the Zendt Tsurumo Supra, and full marks to everybody involved. It really has been an amazing championship this year, David. It's been so close, and I think you put your finger on it when you said the actual title decision came down to that last few meters.
It did. It was right down to the very last lap. Whichever car crossed the line first would have been champion, and Richard Lyons wasn't quite able to do it, and because he finished second instead of first, he actually ends up in third place of the championship, 1 point behind the car of Ralph Furman, who finishes second with 61 points, and the leader finishing with 67 points. But you have to remember that car who's just won the number 38 car, the Zendt car who won the championship, they've only scored in 4 races. 3 of those races were wins. And the round 7, the last race, they only got 4 points, and that was for 7th place. So 3 wins and a 7th place, and they are champions for 2006.
Let's just spare a thought for Ralph Furman, who woke up this morning probably fully expecting that he would have a chance of that crown. He and Daisuke Uto doing all they could, but compromised by a slow pit stop, a stuck wheel, and then on top of that a drive-through penalty. But even without those, that just didn't come their way. I think it's very much team tactics. They've got to hand it to the team managers and engineers this time, because they called the shots, they made the right decisions to bring in certainly the top 3 cars in this race were all brought in very, very early, almost immediately after the early safety car running, and that played right into their hands. So Yuji Tachikawa just taking the congratulations of his team over the pit wall.